Hello from the Mashpee TV Channel 99 studio. I'm Chris Boyd, a Mashpee resident and business owner. I'll be the moderator of today's Mashpee TV 2019 Board of Selectmen Candidates Forum. Joining me as a co-moderator is Sam Houghton from the Mashpee Enterprise. This forum is an opportunity for the two candidates to speak to Mashpee voters. The questions I'll be asking were submitted by community members, including parents, students, the news media, civic leaders, and other interested citizens of Mashpee. From all the questions submitted, we have selected those that best cover the range of issues that will be facing members of the Board of Selectmen and those that will allow voters to better know the candidates seeking to serve as our selectmen. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes to address each question, as well as 1 minute response to any follow-up question the moderator may present further to clarify each candidate's response. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for a closing statement. The candidate's position on the stage and the order in which they will be addressed was determined through random selection. The candidates have been provided the rules prior to this forum. We'll get to the first question shortly, but first let's meet the candidates. Introduced in order from left to right, Shane Clark.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sam, for having us. Thank you to the residents who are taking the time to watch this to inform themselves about the upcoming election. You know, we know that voter turnout in Mashpee is low, and the more we can engage our community, the more we can get our word out there. Hopefully we can get more people out to the polls. Real quickly, I've lived here my entire life since I was 8 years old. I grew up in Mashpee. I've invested a lot into the town. My family's been raised here. My wife works for the community, and I feel that I've invested a lot in the community, and that my goal is to continue to preserve the town that we have, the town that I grew up in, the town that I was able to provide my children, and hopefully the same town that they can provide for their families. So I look forward to the questions, and thank you.
Well, and thanks for being here. And Carol Sherman, thank you for being here as well.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Sam. I'd like to thank you and Mashpee TV for the opportunity for me to reintroduce myself to the voters and to the residents of Mashpee and a thank you for giving me 9 years to serve you. I have brought a balance, perspective to the board with my small business experience and my dedication with the background. I brought my first home here 34 years ago, and I grew up in the next door town, Falmouth. I have owned my business for 25 years, and I feel I bring with me that perspective in decision making in my Mashpee decisions on town expenses. I believe that we should not be spending more than we make. And I am a hands-on person in business and in my town business. I have been working with the chamber with small business. I have worked with the EDIC on bringing fresh ideas and new businesses into town. And as board chairman this past year, I have proven my leadership to the board and to the town of bringing issues to light that need attention. I am very proud of setting up my meetings with the regulatory boards, bringing and discussing the issues of wastewater, housing, and development. Also proud of my attendance record. I have missed one selectmen's meeting in 9 years. My town meeting and voter record speaks for itself. The town, I feel, needs someone with continuity on their service that I have provided. I listen, I follow through, and I have experience, not to just make promises, but to carry them out. I'm dedicated to the people of Mashpee, and I ask for your vote on May 21st.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. Again, thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
I'm going to move right on to questions, if I could. First, Shane, wastewater treatment is by all accounts one of the major issues facing Mashpee in the coming years. In your opinion, what will help the town to move forward with more urgency in its mitigation efforts?
I think the first step as far as wastewater management goes is that the town government is very open with the community. I know that there's already a neighborhood that has some concerns, and it's okay to listen to them. The government needs to bring them into the discussion. I don't think it would be fair for the government to say, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and we're moving forward. So I think that, that's got to be that's the key to the whole thing, is having community involvement, allowing them to know that their voice matters and that they have a voice in this decision. Wastewater is not going to go away. It's something that needs to be done. It's something that our government has been talking about for a decade now. So it's time to, buckle down on this, look into it, and get a plan, and involve the community. The community this is such a huge project that the community has to be involved in it. They have to be. Or, we're going to run into issues like that we've run into recently.
Carol, what's, in your opinion, what are the steps that the town can take to move forward with more urgency in the mitigation efforts with wastewater?
Well, we've started that. We've opened the conversation. I've had 2 public meetings with the regulatory boards to open up the conversation about wastewater. And we did. We moved too fast. I didn't understand, and that's why we pulled the articles from the town meeting warrant. If I don't understand it, how can we make our voters vote on something that we don't understand? So by doing that, we've opened up the conversation. Yes, we do know there's a neighborhood that is very concerned, and they will be brought in. We've told them at that meeting that they will be brought in on every conversation that we have. We're very transparent in this. It's a huge undertaking. I feel it's been on the back burner since I've been involved in town government, and we're going to try to do it right. And if we rush, we'll make mistakes. So we've pulled back. We're going to do it right.
Shane, do you feel for add further? Okay.
Yeah, I would just say follow up for both of you, and Shane, I guess we'll start with you. You're saying involve the community more, and I think a lot of people hear that, but at the same time, there is somewhat of an urgency. I don't know if you want to call it an urgency, but the plan has been approved since 2015. How do you involve the community while still moving forward?
I agree, and I know, like Ms. Sherman said, that I understand that the current board is a little nervous about it, and it's understandable, and that they should know what they're looking into and getting into. There needs to be a sense of urgency, but this has been going on for so long. I don't think that it's appropriate to all of a sudden say, we're going to pick up the pace and we're going to get this done now because it needs to be done now. Like, we've waited a long time for this. So we need to pick up the pace a little. We need to involve the community. We need to make the right decisions. But I think if we do it too quickly, it's too much haste,
Okay.
We've been waiting a long time. We can wait a little longer as long as we are assured that our government is doing it the right way, and they have the information that they can pass on to the public.
Yeah, and Carol, I'll follow up the similar question. You've been on the board for 9 years.
Yes.
The plan was approved in 2015.
Exactly.
You've kind of kicked the can down the road a little bit.
Well,
I
I
would
brought
say.
it to light, and I think the voters know that we're talking about it. And we've had open meetings for them to come and listen. And Sam, you've written articles in the paper about it. But if we don't understand who's going to implement the program, who's going to run it, how much is it going to cost, how can we go forward so fast? There's too many questions out there right now.
Yeah.
Do you think that the town is moving towards a town approach versus a district approach to wastewater?
We haven't gotten that far yet. The Finance Committee has come before us giving the town side of it, and it's a big nut to crack, and it's scary. And I think by putting it out like we did, we scared people. And that's why we pulled back.
Should I follow up just for both of you? The town has talked about having a district run the sewer. Basically, an outside entity would come in and help run the show, essentially. Can you give me an example of where you stand on the issue, whether the town should do it themselves or whether the district should do that? And what might be a good reason for having it? Yeah, we'll start with Shishin.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad idea to have a district run this program. I have great respect for the Board of Selectmen. I have great respect for everybody that works in town hall. But that's not their expertise. They're not full-time employees, and they have lives, and that's understandable. And they have the obligation to oversee this process, But I think if we had a district filled with people that understood wastewater management, that could manage wastewater management, that could answer to the Board of Selectmen or answer to the voters, I think that may be the right avenue to go down. And I think it's absolutely worthwhile to look into a regionalized program. It's not going to hurt to at least reach out and see if there's another way to lower costs by regionalizing the system.
Are towns on the Cape working together at this point to have a sort of more regional approach, or how what's your view of how that's working right now? Because it is a Cape-wide problem.
Yeah, I don't know that there's anybody that's agreed into any agreements, but I know that some of the lower Cape towns are looking into, the cost benefit of regionalizing this process versus their town alone doing this on their own.
And Carol, yeah.
Down in Chatham, they're working with Howard to bring part of Howard on board. And I don't think the town should run it. I think we should either have a separate district or water district. We've already got the plans. Water already has it implemented. They have the staff. We're duplicating. So why are we duplicating what we already have? The infrastructure's there. Maybe have water sewer or sewer separate from water. There's many different ways to look at it. We need to hire someone to look at it and tell us what they think we should do, because we're not experts in this.
Next topic.
Okay, I'm going to move on from wastewater. If I
Okay.
could. All right. So, Carol, what's your view on providing better cell coverage for South Mashpee?
It's become a public safety. Sad. We need to do something. And we need to do something soon, before there's a tragedy. I don't know what else to say about needing it. We have an issue right now where some residents don't like the location. And I understand. I think that any location, you're going to have some pullback. But right now, it's a public safety issue. And are we waiting for something to happen?
Is the location a done deal?
I don't think so. I think right now it's in the hands of the planning board to go forward with that. We live in a world where we have democracy. So we bring things out and then it's discussed. And a lot of people didn't come forward with their disagreement until the very end, till recently. And it's being vetted. And that's what we're here for, to let their voice be heard. No one is not letting anybody voice their concerns.
Shane, what's your view on providing better cell coverage for South Mashpee?
It's definitely needed down there. I agree with Ms. Sherman. It's a public safety issue. The majority of us use our cell phones to make all of our communication. And if there's a public safety need, then there's a public safety need. It needs to be addressed. I think that I don't question whether or not the need is there. I know, like Ms. Sherman said, that there are people in town that are upset about the proposed location, and I live in North Mashpee. I have cell service, so that's kind of their fight. But I absolutely respect the fact that they're unhappy with the decision that was made by the town government, and that they're standing up to the town government and they're voicing their opinion. And I absolutely support anybody that's willing to stand up to the government and say, we don't like this.
Well, how do you feel about the process, about how the decision-making process is going right now and choosing location?
I think the process right now is pretty open. It's been brought to the light. The residents of the neighborhood brought it right to the forefront of the Mashpee enterprise. I think it's very open. I don't know that the early stages of it were as open as it could have been. I don't know that they looked at other locations from the beginning. I think the perspective from the community is that the town said, this is where we're putting it, this is our property, and we're putting it here. And
When I came on board 9 years ago, they started talking about cell tower. This is nothing new.
Right.
We have been, that was one of the goals of the new town manager, was to put an RFP out. He did his job. It wasn't our decision. It goes down to the planning board and the zoning board. It's their decisions to make. It's a public safety issue, and I like that people can talk about what they agree and don't agree with. That's what it's all about.
Shane, any further on this?
No.
Okay, I'll move on to the next. Did you?
No, I think
follow?
that, I
Okay.
think they,
Shane, to you, do you have any ideas on improving the housing supply in Mashpee?
This is a great question. They had a great meeting last night about this. And there was a lot of discussion. It was a 2-hour meeting last night and a lot of discussion, and I think Evan hit the nail on the head, that there was 2 hours of discussion about housing for 55 and older in this community. Very little discussion about housing for my working family, for my children that are graduating high school. And the response from the Board of Selectmen to that, to Evan's question, was, we have the right to choose the character of the town. And because of their belief in open space and low density, the answer was, although there's a demand, we don't have to meet the need. And I absolutely disagree with that. I think that the town absolutely has to include all members of the community into that discussion. That entire discussion last night, the majority of it in housing was 55 and older. If you want, the people that I've shared that video with, their sense is that the government isn't looking to preserve Mashpee. The government is looking to change the identity of Mashpee. And I take exception to that. I think all of those families. Evan spoke highly of, about the project, right? And the plan, and how the discussion last night didn't meet the plan. So then we need to include those families.
Carol, ideas on improving the housing supply in Mashpee?
Well, I'm the one that initiated that meeting last night. It was to bring the developers in, to see what they've done in Mashpee and what their plans are to do for the future. And we had one gentleman that wants to do a project. And it wasn't just for 55. He said he wanted to do a combination of homes, condos, for the working man who wants a 1-bedroom, and then he meets his wife and goes into a 2-bedroom, which alleviates some of your housing issues, because as we're getting older, we leave our home and go back into an apartment. Then that makes a home available for a family. The person who was renting the condo, who got married, wants to start their family, now they can move into a home to start their family. I think what was said last night is a discussion. No one said that this is the demographics of what we want the town to look at. I think if Shane wanted to have more input in that, I think you would do so much better in the planning board, because that's where it starts. I think we need to get more people involved. I am for bringing, that's why the forum last night was a discussion to see what's out there. They did talk about New Seabury and Willow Bend. Yes, that's your 55, but that's your golfing community and summer cottages. We're talking about different demographics around the Commons and around the town-owned land by the Community Health Center. That's opening up for a different look, and no one said that you can't do it. You have to go through the process.
Shane, care to add any further on this?
Yeah, I think we differ on this. I mean, the developer was very clear that, I think what did he say, 80 to 90% of his demand is 55 and over, and that's the demand he's going to meet.
And that's New Seabury and
Right.
Willow Bend.
That was Southport. That was Mr. Bonvy.
Well, he's
And
already
then- yeah.
maxed out.
And then,
He's not building.
The gentleman from New Seabury said that he was looking to, develop for empty nesters, were his words. And when Evan brought it up at the end, Evan was very clear at the end of the meeting that there was
Yes, he
very
was.
little discussion about this, and I got very little response back.
Well, because he was making a statement.
I would,
Well, he got one response back.
just to jump in here, Shane, you're talking a lot about helping working families, and I'm not going to, I don't think anyone has all the answers, but
If we had the answers, we wouldn't be this question wouldn't be asked.
do you have any, though, radical ideas? Maybe not radical, but any ideas just to help working class families?
I wish I had the answers, and like you said, I don't think anybody has the answers. If they did, you wouldn't be asking the question. I think the goal right now is that every vote the Board of Selectmen is unanimous, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. Every once in a while there's a 4-1. So the perception from that is they're all on the same page, right? One of the selectmen said last night that, that may not be the future, that we may not that those working families, although there's a demand, we may not have to meet it, right? So if all 5 of them are on the same page, maybe we bring somebody else in that lives up in District 3 or 4, one of these working class family guys that says, hey, let me add to this discussion. I may not have the answers, but I may have different questions.
Well, yeah, I would just say, Carol, if you want to respond, do you think the conversation has only been about 55 plus? Or
No,
is it-
no. Mr. Bonvy brought in last night that he wants to do a project in town. And to do, just like I said, for the 1 bedroom and then 2 bedroom and then have it be affordable. I understand what Shane's saying, that the 55. New Seabury caters to 55. Willow Bend caters to 55. Southport. These are all 55 communities. Yes. But coming in now, we've started talking about housing, affordable housing, and I think with HAC and Habitat, we're building affordable houses. And we build, Mashpee does 2 or 3 a year in Mashpee, and every town does affordable housing. We have Affordable Housing Authority. We have Asher's Path. We have it already. We do need more, no question.
I'm going to kind of segue a little bit, if I could, and this question is for you, Carol. What are your thoughts on Mashpee Commons' future plans?
Well, last night they came before us. I think they're in a rock and a hard place. Retail has gone sideways. People buy things online. So the demand to walk into a store is not there like it used to be. Their setup is beautiful. Last night we found out they're only a third developed. And they have the housing up above the stores, studio apartments. These are people who are giving up their homes. Older people who are although the age bracket, he said, was 28 to 38, and then older, up to, I think he said 92, he had somebody. And they're giving up their homes, so those homes are coming on the market, and they're moving there to live, work, and play in that area. So I think that what they're looking for now is to look at the demographics of the way things have changed and maybe change their 1986 permit. But they need to sit down in a room and talk it out.
Shane, your thoughts on the future plans at Mashpee Commons?
Yeah, the Mashpee Commons isn't going away. We know that. And I think it's important. Growth is important. And I'm a municipal employee. I get paid by growth, right? So we need to invest in growth. I think that, like Ms. Sherman said, it's only a third developed. There's 2/3 more to go. So there's a lot of development. And I think the most important part of this plan is to allow our town government and our voters to kind of shape the way this is going to develop. I don't think that the Mashpee Commons should come in and say to the voters in the town, this is how we're going to develop. I think there needs to be an open discussion, but it's the government's responsibility to try and preserve what we have and kind of guide that growth.
I think that is half true. I think that the town can guide them into different areas, but to be able to tell a developer what you can and cannot do with their money, I don't think is a right thing to do. I do think we have plans in place to preserve Mashpee. Everyone loves going to Mashpee Commons, but I don't believe that we should tell them that what they have to do on everything.
Shane, any further on
We
this?
disagree, which is all right.
You wanna do a
Disagreement's
follow-up on
good,
that?
discussion's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think you both said that growth is good there in so many words. But I would say traffic is a huge issue in that area. You drive down 151 or 28 now, and in the summer, there's a lot of traffic. If you're going to say the Commons is going to expand, they're only at 1/3. How are you going to address? Do you see it as the role as a selectman to address that, or do you have any ideas of how that could be addressed?
It's going to have to, me.
I don't know
Someone
who we
jumped
got
it on.
here.
I think we were still with
All right.
Carol. Back to Carol.
Sorry, sorry.
Sorry.
I don't think it's the role. I think the selectmen can have some input. I think that comes back to your zoning and your planning of what the town is going to look like. I know we're having discussions right now on the Rotary issue. Yes, we do have a traffic issue. In 2020, we're going to be realigning 151, and that's going to cause major. But it's going to add another lane for turning. So I think we've come up with different ways of handling the traffic on 151. I think it will slow it down so it's not all bottleneck at the Rotary. And I think the public has to get involved in the discussions that we're having with the Rotary.
Yeah, Shane, do you see it as the role of the selectmen, not necessarily to do everything, but
Right. I see it as the role of the selectmen to be the leaders of the community. First and foremost, they're the executive board. And, I understand that the planning board has their responsibilities, zoning board has their responsibilities, board of health has their responsibilities. But it seems like every time something goes south, it's always, well, it's not the selectmen. This was the planning boards. Somebody's got to stand up and be a leader. Somebody's got to stand up as the executive and say, we're working through this. Somebody from the Board of Selectmen has to stand up and say, we're taking responsibility. We're the leaders of, As far as the traffic is a huge problem. We understand that. I know that they're looking at fixing the Rotary. And I don't know where the projects for the Common goes. I don't know what land they own and don't know. My fear would be that the Rotary disappears and the Common expands into that land, and that's not going to help traffic. Right?
Carol, yeah, it was,
The selectmen are leaders, we're policymakers. We do have a say, we can bring things to light for discussion, but there's a lot of things that we don't have the authority to make the decision. Yes, we've been involved with the Commons, we've gone to all their meetings, and it's not just about the Commons. There's other areas of town that the selectmen have gotten involved. Each selectman is liaison to a different board. So we have a selectman, a leader that goes to the planning board, that goes to the zoning board, to the recreation, to all the different departments. So we have a face, and we report back.
I'm going to move on to the next question. We're running out of time in a
All
few
right.
more minutes. Shane, there's an article in this year's town meeting warrant to change the official seal of the town. What is your stance on this question?
There's a lot of angles to this question. I think it's on the warrant, and I think we let the voters speak. If they want to change the seal, then we change the seal. My fear is that there's going to be a cost to it. I imagine it'd be a huge cost. Everything at the town hall would have to be changed. The seals. I think it's going to be a huge cost. But if the voters vote for it, we got to support it. Me personally, I'm all right with the seal. It's not something that I would go out to spearhead a change, but it's coming up in a week, so we have to listen to what they have to say, and we have to move forward.
Carol?
Every person has their own opinion. And on this issue, the cost of changing this would be well over $100,000 plus. Not just the town seal, the stationery, the vehicles. There's just so much involved here. We've had this seal for years and years and years, and no one ever said anything about it till now. And that's why it's on the warrant. It's up to the people who live here, the people who vote. This is their opportunity to voice their opinion.
I would jump in as the follow-up. You could make a case that if you phase everything out, it wouldn't be a cost. Let's get down to the root here, that people are offended by the seal. If there's no cost at all, is it worth helping people out?
Sure it is. Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
I have no doubt. And that's what's so great about this form of government we have, right? They can bring it to the voters and let the voters speak. And that's the way it's got to be done. It has to be brought to the voters and let the voters speak. And if they support it, they support it, and then we move forward. Right? We don't want to say, we don't want to say that this cost is so great that we're not going to bring it up on the warrant, you know? Let them speak.
And that's why it's on the warrant.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. It's a great form of government that we have, you know?
It's just a shame that the cost would be. But that's not saying that we can't find a way to do it if the voters want to do it.
I'll move on to hopefully a less controversial topic. You'll decide, Carol.
Trash.
No, well, what are your views on beach parking in Mashpee?
Well, we had our beach sticker issue come up, and I was not for raising the beach sticker. It's very hard to tell our residents that we're going up on a beach sticker when we only have 70 parking spots to park. We're going to have to, we're trying to find ways, even if we have to do a busing, but we have to do something. That's what people come here for. They come for the boating and the beaches, and we have to provide them a place. So we're looking into it. We've started.
Not trash, but beach stickers. All right. I agree with Ms. Sherman. You know, it's hard to raise those fees when, if you go to South Cape Beach and maybe you can get in, maybe you can't. You know, it's unfortunate that there's limited parking down there. Mm-hmm. But you know, so it's tough to add that cost to the people that are going there. When if I go to South Cape, I may not even get a spot. You know, so I think and like Ms. Sherman said, you know, it's great that the selectmen or the government are looking at ways of trying to get people out to that beach. That's why people come here, is to sit at our beaches. And if we could grow a bigger beach, then that would be a great answer, but that's, you know, it's not an option, so.
Carol, do you think that the Board of Selectmen could or should do more in the way of transparency, and if so, what and how?
I think we have. I think we're open. All our meetings we discuss, more so, and we're having meetings all the time to talk about different issues. And I feel, since I've come on the board, that all of our meetings have been transparent. We have disagreements. We all don't agree. We have our information in front of us. We've read it all over the weekend. We make our own decisions. Sometimes it may look like we all agree. It's because of the information we have in front of us. We all agree. And there's times when we don't agree, and we discuss it on why, and then we vote.
Jane, what's your view on transparency?
My view on transparency.
Could and should.
I think they could do a better job. I don't doubt that the selectmen and all of the boards are doing a great job at being as transparent as they feel they are. But the word from the community is that they don't feel that they have any input at these boards. They don't have, I've spoken to 3 or 4 people over the weekend at the lanes who said that they had gone to ask a selectman on the website, no response. So the selectmen may very well be doing everything right, and I'm not saying that they're not. But if the perspective from the voter is that there's a breakdown, that's what we have to correct. We have to ensure the voter that we are doing everything, I don't doubt that the selectmen are doing it. I think they do a fabulous job. I honestly do. I watch the meetings. I know where to find them. I don't question their transparency, but I know that there are a lot of people that feel that. So somehow you got to fix that disconnect.
Ask the selectmen. Every question that we get, we answer ourselves. It doesn't. The policy before was the office got the question and then relate it to the selectmen. We changed that last year when I came on board, that each selectman gets their own question directed to them. I have answered every single one. We don't get that many, believe it or not,
believe it.
But we do get them.
And that's the difficult part of this discussion, right? With this such low voter turnout.
And also, going back to not being part of, we have open meetings. We have 40 chairs at our selectmen's meeting. That, as Sam knows, last night was very full because it was an interesting topic. But there's times when Sam is the only one sitting in the audience. So if people want to know what's going on and be a part of our meeting, we have public comment at the beginning, and here we are.
And I think maybe this is where I can help on the board, you know. I spent a lot of time in this community at a lot of baseball fields, at a lot of football fields, at a lot of concerts, at a lot of school events, and every once in a while you see Mr. Cotton, but you don't see the other 4 selectmen at any of those events. So if I could be on the board and I'm at these events and people can say, oh, this, you know, he's a selectman.
We are at other events.
Right.
Like I'm at ribbon cuttings for new
Oh, yeah,
businesses
no,
coming
yeah.
into town. The Easter Bunny. I'm at many events.
Yeah,
the Christmas. We all get together and make sure that there's one selectman at every event.
Right.
So you do see Mr. Cotton at the baseball
And
because he has children.
Yeah.
We don't have children at school age. I have grandchildren, which I bring to the water park and to South Cape Beach when I can get in. But we make sure that there is a selectman at every single event.
Let's move on. The tough part of the discussion is now concluded. I'm going to give you both an opportunity to do a couple of closing statements. Shane, if you would first.
Yeah, real quick. Like I didn't mean to offend the selectmen.
Nope.
I know that they're active in the community. I know that because I'm involved in the town, and I understand that. I think that there's a group of the population that doesn't see them, and maybe we can connect with that group. But going on, I got into this race early in April when the papers became due. A handful of people had reached out to me and said, Shane, we're upset with the way the government is treating us. We don't feel that we're heard. Are you willing to run for selectman? And I sat down with my wife and I said to my wife, how humbling is it that the community of Mashpee is reaching out to a kid from Santua Pond to put his name on the Board of Selectmen? Like, that was very humbling to me. And then as I thought about it, I said to myself, maybe that's what the Board of Selectmen needs. Maybe they need a kid from Santua Pond. Maybe they need a kid that grew up on Santua Pond, who raised 4 kids in this community, whose wife works in the community. And, you know, it's not a slam on the Board of Selectmen. I have nothing against the Board of Selectmen. But I think it's time to change the seats up a little bit. You know, and if the voters feel that way, then they have the opportunity. You know, my biggest goal here was to get a name on the ballot so the voters can come out on May 21st and pick a name, you know, and they have the right to change the government. Uncontested races, you have no voice, you know, so that's the only reason I'm here, is to give a group of people a chance to pick a name, you know, and if there's other people that like what I have to say, they can pick my name. If they're happy with the way government's going, then, you know, kudos to them, and they can check Ms. Sherman's name. I asked that they check for mine. I hope that they do, but, you know, I think that involvement in community politics is important. Local politics is very important. You know, and the only way we get that draw is to have names on the ballot. The last time I ran, Deb was excited. She was excited that 14% of the voters came out to vote that day. This is a problem, right? But if we keep running uncontested races, that number's going to go down. So, you know, my name's on the ballot. If they like what I have to hear, they can check my name. If they're happy with, you know, the current board, then, you know, congratulations to Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Shane. Carol, your closing remarks.
I don't pretend that I know everything, but I do have to admit I've learned a lot. And I feel if we keep the line of communication open and address these issues, I believe we can find answers to all the problems. I have 9 years, and I've been out there. I've been available. My phone number's out there. My email's out there. I go to all the business after hours to meet other businesses coming in, and I will continue to do so. I have the energy, the passion, the commitment, and most of all, the experience. And I believe that Mashpee is a great place to live, work, and play for all to enjoy. And I hope you vote for me on May 21st. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you both. That concludes Mashpee TV's 2019 Board of Selectmen Candidates Forum. Thanks again to both of you for participating. Please let your family and friends know that they can watch replays of this forum on channels 99 and 18 right up to Election Day. And don't forget to cast your vote at the Christ the King Parish Hall on Election Day, which this year is on Tuesday, May 21st. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. With my colleague, Sam Houghton, I'm Chris Boyd, This is Mashpee TV. Thank you for watching.